But when I was back out in the Northwest, I started doing a lot of canning.
Okay.
Making, you asked me about
That's where you
blueberries,
learned it.
blackberries, raspberries, make jams, jellies, applesauce, pear sauce, apple butter, pear butter, all that kind of stuff. Um, and
Apples.
yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of like mango trees down here. Everybody has an apple tree or two or three in their yard, literally, or like
Or a
citrus,
pear or something.
pear, yeah, cherries are big there too.
Mm.
But
Plums.
yes, plum. I had an Italian plum tree in my yard.
Mm.
Just by the thousands they would come off. I mean, you couldn't pick them fast enough.
Wow.
But that's where I started canning, and I've come down here and I've done canning of recently when we had all this bok choy that we were growing out at the farm. I'm like, what can we do with this? We can't eat it that fast. I can't eat bok choy 24/7.
Yeah. We had so much.
Yeah.
We still do.
Yeah, we still do. So I've said, all this make some kimchi with it. So YouTube being
And guys, this stuff is so good. And I don't think people realize though, but this is also why we do it, right? You don't need a fridge. It's
Yeah.
like a way people have been able to store their, we have all these groceries, like you said, bok choy, carrots, radish. You're putting it all in this, and you don't even have to, you could put it in the shade.
well, I'm not a doomsday prepper or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do have a concern of like how I'm going to survive when everything does go down.
Interesting.
And
Yeah,
knowing
man.
how to smoke fish, smoke meat, cure meat.
You're saying like trucking and being able to get food from these farms,
Just if the system goes down.
right?
So, and all of a sudden we don't have electricity. We don't have this fermenting you can eat. Other things that you have to refrigerate require electricity, energy, but fermenting doesn't. It just continues to ferment, but you can eat it
For weeks.
for weeks. You can ferment tons of stuff. So you don't need refrigeration.
Wow.
Same thing with like smoking. Like if we go down, people you're like, hey, you're a little crazy. I'm like, oh well, it's like as long as you know how to do it, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. And it's interesting, man. People are starting to think, like, we've already been doing this for many seasons, you much longer than me.
Yeah.
But it's like, it really is like what the processing afterwards. What are you going to do if you don't have a fridge or whatever? People are thinking of this stuff after COVID. You're right, man. We're fragile, supply chain or whatever you want to call it.
The guest we just had here recently, he was telling me about everything he has frozen and in freezers. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I got a generator. I'm like, well, what are you going to do when you can't get diesel for your generator? And they look at you like you're crazy. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You've never been through a hurricane, have you?
Exactly.
A massive one or massive, earthquake or something like that, where the trucks can't get there and all your stuff just starts rotting.
Yeah.
If it's fermented and it doesn't require refrigeration, then you're ahead of the game a little bit.
Yeah. Hurricanes can turn into Mad Max real quick, right? Because of that effect, It's like, oh, okay, it's 90 degrees out now. The storm blew through and we don't have AC. We don't have a fridge. We don't have grocery store products.
Yeah.
So, we did, yeah.
That's why I wanted to experiment with fermenting, really. And that's where the kimchi thing came along. I've been watching some, videos on like, hey, how do you survive?
Wow.
Smoking, how to build a small little shelter to smoke, whether it be fish.
That's
meat,
next, Ken.
But one of the sad things is you always are going to need, not always, you can't cold smoke, but you need salt,
Right.
sugar.
Well, we can get salt out of the ocean. I have some buddies that do it.
Yes.
Eric Joseph Lewis, who came through.
I've been to the salt mines in the Bahamas. I've been to them in Baja where they let the water in, and
I've seen it too.
Yeah, we were when I was in Baja, we'd go out there and get these big chunks of salt.
So we do have that resource, but it is, like you said, we were talking about this before the show, but
Yeah.
like that it takes work. Like we're out there in the garden, you fish, you put in days fishing to get this fish, to live off the land. It takes energy and time and,
So kimchi came back to another way of just utilizing stuff that was in the garden.
Right.
This is some yellow Roma tomatoes. They looked like San Marzanos. They said they were yellow San Marzanos, and they did look like them. But this was just some paste tomato that you'd make tomato sauce or anything out of.
So you've had this since last season.
Yeah. It won't
Right
go bad.
on, yeah.
There's I don't have a root cellar. It'd be like anything else that you make, even your soups and you have at home and stuff. If you kept them at 100 degrees, it's not the best thing to do.
Exactly.
Happens sometimes.
Because you have to pressurize that for it to keep, right?
Yes and no.
Tell me about it.
Pressure cooking is for you want to do from like more meats and stuff that you can get botulism from.
Got you. Like cooked soups and stews and stuff.
A lot of things with proteins in it.
Got it.
There's certain beans that you definitely want to pressure cook because you can get botulism from that. And any meats, any fish and stuff, I definitely would pressure cook. This, you could water bath or slightly pressure cook, but once you get it up to its point temperature and you're holding it there for like 45 minutes, it's fine.
Cool.
I've never had, like I said, I did have some stuff that was around for a year and a half, maybe. And it won't go bad. You'll know the lid will raise. When you go to take this off,
right,
and if the lid pops and it's gassing and you smell it, it doesn't smell right, like anything, you shouldn't eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's giving you some bad signs.
Beautiful.
I've had very little failure rate in the beginning. I had failure rate, but that was because I was overcooking the jars. I was like thinking I gotta take these jars to the next level, and literally was like boiling the stuff inside the jars, and it kind of messed with the seal.
What temp do you want to have it at for 45 minutes or whatever?
About at least 220.
220.
Yeah.
Right around that boiling point.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's boiling, but if you put it in a raging boil, a hard boil, at that point you might as well just go under a pressure cooker and just lock it down and just don't. When you get into it, you can really run up the pressure on the pressure cooker. You don't have. With stuff like this, you don't need to.
So that's a big experiment, but like super doable. We have 100 tomatoes out there, it's that you could do that, but tell us about this kimchi is way easier. You literally just pack that into a jar.
I don't know about easier.
How do you make that? By the way, that was out of the garden.
Yeah, everything in here is out of the garden, except for the ginger, the fish stock, the shrimp.
Right.
So
salt.
The prep is taking the cabbage and salting it, and so you cut it in wedges, and they'll show you this delicate way of, not delicate, but it's putting salt in between all the leaves and then laying it there, or you can just put it in a brine, or you can just shake salt all over it and just keep throwing it. And you watch it, it'll start to sweat, and 3 hours, but it really, the telling point is when you can grab it and it's pliable and it won't break. Sometimes it takes 3 hours, sometimes it takes, like the other night, I kind of fell asleep and I got a good soaking all night long, and I got up in the morning. That's what this is. Doesn't go bad. It was really pliable, which is good. So then you take all your the ingredients is salt, and then we're gonna rinse that, and then a fish stock, either a dried brined shrimp or a brined shrimp, and water. And when I say brine, it's salt. Same thing with the fish stock.
That's what preserves it pretty much, right?
No. It's a thing that just adds flavor because you're not putting a ton of it in there.
What preserves it?
The fermentation.
Yeah, it's just fermenting and
the vinegar. It's cooking. Actually, there's salt, so
okay. But so it's supposed to just be cabbage, you're saying? But we're just
no. There's like 86 varieties of kimchi. You can make it with just green onions. You can make it with just carrots. You can make it with everything.
Yeah, you could just
cauliflower. There's all different ingredients, but
our cauliflower's in there. It's good.
Yeah, cauliflower, our carrots,
the fioretta,
the radish, I go with bush Dijon. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
daikon. Sorry, but
yeah, those are good.
Yeah,
and they're like this big.
Yeah, those are really good. So the ones, so a lot of times they'll add, they all of them want you to put like an Asian pear or a pear in it, but most of the time that's for the sugar to help it kind of cook a little bit. You can add a tablespoon of sugar depending on how big of the batch you're making, to help it ferment, give it a little sugars.
Wow. This is a masterclass, guys, on storing produce. Hey guys, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below. And we'll see you in the next one.